I see so many people pursuing Aleister Crowley, Thelema, Golden Dawn, Hermeticism, witchcraft, Wicca. So it depends on what you're interested in, like what you're trying to do. Obviously, like if you're trying to do witchcraft or if you're like into Wicca, you're probably trying to like manifest things or like work with your reality, like improve things, help with your health, blah, 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 manifest like love, happiness, magic, like ceremonial, chaos magic, Western Occultism, Thelema, Golden Dawn, systems like that, Rosicrucianism, Freemasonry. These are systems that are meant to like carve the ashlar. They're meant to like change you, not just like your reality and manifesting, like they're meant to like change your essence as a human, like recondition you. Like you're usually not able to be reconditioned because we're like a summary of our conditioning, like whatever we grew up with is typically what we are, and it's very difficult to change because it's conditioned, like a dog, you know, like it's not something we're always choosing. So to be able to change, like that's largely what magicians are using magic for, is to like actually change themselves and reality. And they're actually systems that give you results. So like coming from someone who's been studying this for 20 years, I will tell you that, and like I feel like to be proficient at something, you really have to study it for like 30 years. So I'm not even trying to come at you as like an expert. It's more like a peer and a guide. Like from what I've learned, we can all learn from each other. But like I personally have like a deeper respect for certain systems. So I have a deep respect for like Golden Dawn, Rosicrucianism, Freemasonry, Hermeticism, from Western Occultism. I personally, I know I'm going to get tarred and feathered for this, I personally don't think Thelema is a great system, but I can see like why people appreciate it. Here's my beef. My beef with Aleister Crowley and like Thelema, and a lot of like people who kind of have crossover where they're interested in that and then they're also interested in like Golden Dawn or like Freemasonry or whatever. But I don't think it's a very pure system, and I largely think Aleister Crowley, while he was sort of like illuminated in a way, I actually think he had a partial Kundalini awakening. But from like what I've read from like swamis and like gurus and books from like people who are from like established lineages who work with illuminating energies, is like I don't think that he was fully on deck. Like I think that he had, it's sort of like a bastardization of it. And it's kind of like when somebody has an epiphany, like I could like go down this so far to start to differentiate things, but like some people have epiphanies and they're like really genius, and then sometimes they're schizophrenic. So like this is the situation where I think that his system is just not correct, right? It's an amalgamation of a lot of other systems, like, and no beef, like no hate if you like that system, and maybe you like could explain to why it's better, but to me. But personally, if you're like just getting started, I like wouldn't even dive deep into that because you're not going to understand it for the most part. It takes like other foundational stuff to get you there. I really focus on Hermeticism. Like I would largely push Hermeticism and stay away from all the like dogma and weirdness and a lot of the pantheon stuff, because a lot of people go ham when they get to that stuff. And like focus on exercises from Hermeticism to like train your concentration and like your visualizations. Get like some foundational knowledge of like the ethical systems, like of generic religion, because like technically in Kabbalah, like you weren't even allowed to touch it until you were 40, and you already had studied the Tanakh like for 40 years, like your whole life. And you know, anyway, but like the reason is because people could get off their rocker and not quite understand it, and like in order to get into magic, like you really need to have a firm foundation of like ethics, because it can make people, it will test you. Like that's the process of initiation, is basically a series of tests that lead to greater understanding and consciousness. So like if you get tested and then you fail, like that's fine, you can try again. It's not like the end, but you might have to wait till another lifetime if you like seriously mess up ethically. right? Like there's some things that can really go wrong. So I would focus on that, and then maybe like just read the other stuff and like don't dabble in it or try any rituals for a while until you like really like get an idea of it. But personally, I ended up back at Tantra. I ended up back at Hinduism because all of the systems led there. Like I didn't even want to touch it because it's so huge for the longest time. Kind of like Islam, I didn't want to touch it for the longest time. Those were the last religions I touched because I just knew they were so huge and I like didn't know if I could sort it. But the reason I ended up back at Tantra and Hinduism is because largely when you follow these Western systems, like that's where it's coming from, and it's just like a system that has been taken. So for example, like I was watching a video the other day, and God bless her, it was a really good video and it was very, very educational, but the woman that was making the video did it based on Thelema. And so she was using a lot of tantric, like she was using tantric mantras, but she like didn't know what she was doing. Like she didn't understand the process, the part of the process she was using. And she was using Baphomet. And so like, not to get like snobby or whatever, but like certain deities have like some kind of historical basis, and then some are like what people would call egregores. They're just sort of like made up. And the Knights Templar invented Baphomet. He's not a real god or anything like that, or it's a unisex symbolic picture. It's like if I were to draw a picture that represented like the Earth's population, I wouldn't draw every person. I would like draw symbols of like their ethnicities and countries, or I don't know, I'd get creative. But that is the reality, is that this is just like a depiction, and it was forced out of them. And also Eliphas Levi was the one that finally drew it, and it was like, I don't remember what century, but it's very recent. So it's not a real deity, it's an egregore. It will still work because it has so many people powering it, but why use that? Why not use a real system? That's what I think. It's my personal opinion. Why I'm making this video, I don't know, maybe someone cares, but it would help me like 20 years ago to just find something, like going to a system that I personally feel like is more wholesome too, and like leads to higher things. Because a lot of people that get into the realm of Western occultism too, I feel like they like start going down like weird paths that are basically considered deviations in Tantra or in Hinduism. Like basically like you're messing it up, like you're failing the tests. So I feel like if you go to those sources, you're gonna find like the focus is on like illumination and like higher consciousness. It's more, even on the left-hand path, it has like that vibe, where on Western occultism it has more risk of deviating, and it's pretty much all left-hand path, because the right-hand path would be organized religion in the West. So anyway, hope that helped.